Hello, everyone, and welcome to the History of Pittsburgh podcast, Episode 1, Fossil Fuels, Foothills, and Forks. As this show is new, and you probably have not listened yet, if you want to learn a little bit about me, Joe Palmetto, the creator, and why I am doing this show, check out the introduction, which I created as a separate episode. Also, if you like what you hear, I simply ask that you like, subscribe, comment, and share on social media. Also, please sign up for my email list below. We will send you updates on the show and other cool and interesting items. These are free ways to support this show. Episode 1, Part 1, Fossil Fuels. In order to fully understand the history of Pittsburgh, we need to start at the beginning, when the geography and natural resources of Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania were formed. And by beginning, I mean billions of years ago. Well, more like millions, but I will start with billions for context. So, the planet Earth itself is 4.5 billion years old. Life, as we know it, began on Earth approximately 3.5 billion years ago. And the forces that really began to shape modern-day Pittsburgh, PA, began about 500 million years ago. Feels like yesterday. 500 million years ago, the Earth was in a geological state where the continents of the planet were in a period of separation. As a result of what scientists used to refer to as continental drift, but what we now refer to as plate tectonics. You may be familiar with plate tectonics from your high school science class, but if you are like me, we need a refresher. You see, the Earth's continents are constantly moving. This is a result of the hard surface of the Earth's crust and upper mantle sitting atop a liquid surface on the Earth's hot outer core. It is actually, a lot more complicated than that, but for purposes of our story, what you need to know is that the continents move extremely slowly over hundreds, thousands, and millions of years. This has led to the slow smashing together and pulling apart of the continents over and over again throughout the planet's history. Plate tectonics in a nutshell. You're welcome. So, back to 500 million years ago, at this time, and due to plate tectonics, all of the Earth's continents had been clustered around the South Pole in a supercontinent known as Pannotia. Clustering of the continents during this time had the effect of putting the current landmass of North America, and thus the location of Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania, very near and over top of the Earth's equator for an extended period of time. This created a hot and wet climate similar to the modern-day Amazon River basin. Given Pittsburgh's freezing cold winters, if only we could be so lucky again. Anyways, also around this period, and also as a result of the shifting plate tectonics, the specific area of Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania was covered by a shallow ocean. This ocean was vast and also sat atop much of the North American continent. Fast forward to about 375 million to 350 million years ago, and surrounding this western Pennsylvania ocean were vast swamplands, marshes, and lush vegetation. This ocean would advance and retreat, flooding the surrounding vegetation and burying it deep in deep organic deposits. This process repeated thousands of times over the course of millennia. Plant relatives of modern-day ferns, conifers, and scaly trees were all buried during this time. Not only was plant life abundant during this period, but animal life also. Fossil records indicate an abundance of amphibians, reptiles, and insects that occupied this area. One insect was especially prominent during this period. This is a favorite, the cockroach. The cockroach, nature's own master of resiliency, fossil records indicate that they were so numerous during this time that some scientists refer to this age as the cockroach age. Yum. Time for lunch. An added historical perk is that insects were also giant-sized during this period. That makes it even yummier. Anyhow, this process of organic deposit into the Earth's surface in the area of western Pennsylvania intensified from about 323 to 298 million years ago. This period of intensification is referred to not only as the Cockroach Age, but also as the Pennsylvanian period, or perhaps more aptly, the Coal Age. It was this process of the shallow ocean burying vegetation over and over again through millions of years that created the rich deposits of fossil fuels and natural gas that sit beneath western Pennsylvania today. This ocean was referred to by scientists as the Paleozoic seas, and they were actually a series of seas rather than a single contiguous ocean. And although this may seem obvious, I'm big on definition, so indulge me. A fossil fuel is a fuel that we use today, which was formed in the past from the remains of living organisms. Like plate tectonics, the process is complex, but in a nutshell, the slow decomposition of organic materials actually captures the energy of that material, which originated through ancient photosynthesis. Pretty cool stuff. Thus, the ancient photosynthesis, or energy from the sun, which was deposited in these organisms, was fossilized and is being used today as a fuel to power modern society in the form of coal, oil, and natural gas. And if you don't know what photosynthesis is, you're not going to get that definition here. For that one, please do refer to your old second grade science book. This process of rich organic deposit during the Pennsylvanian period is crucial to the history of Pittsburgh. It created the oil reserves of Pennsylvania, which were much tapped into in the late 1800s and early 20th century. It created the coal, which has been part of western Pennsylvania's industry for hundreds of years. And it created the natural gas deposits, which form the modern-day Marcellus Shale. Thus, Pittsburgh and western Pennsylvania's reputation for being a bountiful source of natural gas, coal, and other fossil fuels was created 500 to 300 million years ago when Pittsburgh, which was near the equator then, was buried beneath the sea and as hot as the Amazon rainforest. This abundance of natural resources which formed during this time in western Pennsylvania is so impactful upon the area that the period of time itself was named after Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, by scientists in the field, the Pennsylvanian period. Scientists estimate that 8% of the modern-day world's coal was formed during this time. You cannot understand Pittsburgh without understanding the fuel beneath it, and there will be more on that in the future. But for now, let's move on to the formation of the next major geographical feature that defines the Pittsburgh area: mountains. And when we talk about mountains around here, we are talking about the Appalachian Mountains, or maybe you prefer Appalachian, like they say down south. Regardless, we will stick with Appalachian. That's the right way to say it, yins guys. Now, Episode 1, Part 2, Foothills. While the vast inland sea covering western Pennsylvania was serving as an engine for fossil fuel creation, plate tectonics continued to play their crazy world-shaping games. From about 500 million years ago, as I described previously, the great supercontinent of Pannotia began to drift apart. Initially, the breakup created three major continents on Earth: Laurasia, Baltica, and Gondwana. Pretty cool names. Eventually, the three continents coalesced into Laurasia and Gondwana. And around 300 million years ago, the two remaining continents would coalesce into one yet again. Laurasia and Gondwana would smash together to create Earth's last supercontinent, or most recent supercontinent, Pangaea. It was this collision of Laurasia and Gondwana that created Pangaea, but it also created something else that is significant to our story: the Appalachian Mountains. This event, on a more localized basis, is called the Allegheny orogeny. If you look at a map of Africa and a map of North America, you can see how Northwest Africa would fit nicely into the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea, just like a puzzle piece, snug between North and South America. When Pangaea was formed, Northwest Africa, which was part of Gondwana, smashed up against the east coast of the modern United States, which was part of Laurasia. This created the Appalachian mountain range. And you can see, even today, that those continents eventually drifted apart along those same fault lines to give us our modern day map. West Africa was the anvil that carved out the Appalachian Mountains. Today, some may refer to the Appalachian Mountains as foothills. They are not that large when compared to many other modern day ranges, but during the formation of the Appalachians, geologists theorized there were peaks in the range as high as the peaks that today exist in the Himalayan mountain range. This area was also a hub for volcanic activity in ancient times. This volcanic activity contributed to the formation of the mountains. Today, the highest peak in the Appalachians is a fraction of their ancient height. Due to the Appalachians' old age, erosion, and plate tectonics, they have shrunken significantly. The highest peak on the range is 6,684 feet at the summit of Mount Mitchell in North Carolina. For comparison, the highest peak in the Rocky Mountains is Mount Elbert at 14,440 feet. And the highest peak in the Alaska mountain ranges is Denali or Mount McKinley at 20,322 feet. These ranges are younger than the Appalachians, and thus they have higher peaks. However, what the range lacks in height, it makes up for in length. The mountain range stretches for approximately 1,500 miles from the southern state of Alabama to the Canadian provinces of Newfoundland and Labrador, covering much of the east coast of North America in its journey. This places the Appalachian Mountains within the top 10 of the longest mountain ranges on Earth. And I also believe that the Appalachians are related and were connected to the Atlas Mountains, which today exist in modern day Morocco or in that region of Africa. Now, Pittsburgh is not in fact located within the Appalachian mountain range itself. It is located in what is called the Appalachian Mountain Plateau. But as you will see throughout the history of Pittsburgh in this podcast, the Appalachian Mountains play an outsized role in defining the city of Pittsburgh. The frontiers of early America were considered as being just beyond the Appalachian Range. Armies prepared for war marched through the Appalachian Mountains, and early railroads were built through the mountain ranges' winding valleys and peaks. To understand Pittsburgh, we need to understand the mountain range under whose shadow Pittsburgh lives. In the early American period, these mountains formed the frontier of American expansion. Now that we have an understanding of the fossil fuels and mountains that help define the character of Pittsburgh, there's one more major geographical feature to cover: the rivers, and more specifically, the three rivers: the Monongahela, Allegheny, and Ohio. Episode 1, Part 3, Forks. In addition to fossil fuels and foothills, the next large geographic feature to define the Pittsburgh region are rivers. More specifically, the three rivers: the Monongahela, Allegheny, and Ohio rivers. All three mighty in their own right, and all three playing a pivotal role in the history of Pittsburgh. Most starkly, and perhaps the most significant feature of these rivers, is not that all three of them pass through the city of Pittsburgh, but rather that all three of them meet directly in the center of the city of Pittsburgh. And this meeting place is referred to as the Forks, or the Forks of the Ohio. It is stated as such because the Monongahela and Allegheny, two large rivers, meet at those forks and they combine to flow into the mightiest of them all, the Ohio. The Allegheny flows southward from up north. The Monongahela, also referred to as just the Mon, flows northward from southern West Virginia, and these two rivers meet to form the Ohio. The Ohio River then leads a long and winding path west until it feeds into the mightiest American river of them all, the Great Mississippi River. The meeting spot of the three rivers in Pittsburgh is also referred to as the Point, and this location, combined with a nearby mountain called Mount Washington, team up to create one of the most stunning natural vistas you will ever see. You can literally stand on Mount Washington and view the meeting point of the three rivers and the city of Pittsburgh, whose downtown grew up around the forks of the Ohio. If you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have, appreciate it. Most cities need to build artificial towers just to pull off something close to the amazing view that Pittsburgh has naturally. Before I dive too much into how beautiful Pittsburgh is, let's talk about how these three great rivers came to be. In a story filled with plate tectonics, fossil fuel formation, and modern volcanic activity, it would not be complete without another great molder of the current world, glaciers. Known for developing mountain ranges and carving out valleys all on their own, these immense masses of ice also do a great job of carving out rivers. Back before the last ice age, about 100,000 years ago, a great ancient river known as the Taze River ran through what is modern-day Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. When the last ice age, or glacial maximum, kicked in, an enormous glacier known as the Wisconsin covered vast portions of the northern United States and crept all the way down to modern-day Kentucky. Over the centuries, there were repeated retreats and advances of the Wisconsin Glacier, both north and south. This movement and carving of the land by the glaciers formed the modern-day Ohio River. When the last glaciers retreated, about 10,000 years ago, the Taze River was transformed into the Ohio, and the Ohio had taken on much of the permanent character that it has today. In a similar fashion, the Allegheny and Monongahela rivers also took on their current character from glacial advance and retreat. Great glaciers crept southward all the way down to within 40 miles of modern-day Pittsburgh. The ancient version of the Monongahela River is actually called the Pittsburgh River by geologists. The Pittsburgh River was eventually dammed and distorted by the southward glaciers, and this drainage formed a now extinct lake called Lake Monongahela, which sat just south of modern-day Pittsburgh. As the glaciers receded, the Monongahela Lake was drained, but the region was left with the current shapes of the Allegheny and Monongahela rivers, the sisters to the Great Ohio, into which they both flow. Interestingly, erosion from the old Monongahela Lake formed the modern-day plain that makes up the Monongahela Valley and the Pittsburgh neighborhoods of Braddock, Rankin, Point Breeze, Homewood, East Liberty, Shadyside, Bloomfield, Lawrenceville Strip District. In ancient times, you could swim from one neighborhood to the next. Today, you have to take the East End subway. Just as the fortuitous fossil fuels that developed beneath the surface of the city fueled Pittsburgh's later industrial rise, the three great rivers at the center of the city motivated the founding of the city itself, and they will also, of course, be the conduits through which Pittsburgh's later industrial products are shipped and routed to the rest of the world. The confluence of the three rivers at the fork of the Ohio allowed goods to be shipped westward to the Mississippi, allowing the fruits of economic production to be sent all across the United States and North America. The Pittsburgh region is one that has been defined by fossil fuels, foothills, and forks. Now that we understand the geography of Pittsburgh, it is time to put some players onto the map. In the next episode, we will delve into the story of the first humans to inhabit the lands of Western Pennsylvania. Join me in episode 2 as we discover how these people came to inhabit the Pittsburgh region. We'll talk about where they came from, how they lived their lives, and how they came to define the areas around Pittsburgh for thousands of years before Europeans ever set foot in North America. If you like this show, please share it with your friends and family. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Free ways to support the show. Finally, sign up for the History of Pittsburgh email list linked in the description below. Thank you very much. This is Pittsburgh Joe. I will see you next episode.